I stopped covering for my husband's absences at family events. His own mother now asks me where he is. For 3 years, I made up excuses so good I almost believed them myself. Work ran late, traffic on the bridge, his back was acting up, his stomach. A deadline he didn't mention until that morning. I had one for every occasion and I delivered them clean, with just enough detail that nobody pushed back. His mom would squeeze my arm and say, "Tell him we missed him," and I'd smile and say I would. And then I'd go sit through Easter dinner or someone's birthday or Thanksgiving feeling like I was holding a story together with both hands. I always knew where he actually was. He was home, on the couch or in the garage or stretched out in bed watching something on his laptop. He just didn't want to go. For a long time I told myself that was my problem to manage, not theirs. His family had strong opinions about everything and I didn't want them inside our marriage. That was the story I told myself through most of year 1. By year 2 it was just habit. By year 3 I was doing it automatically, the way you stop at red lights without thinking about it. The thing that really got me was how good I'd gotten at it. His aunt once pulled me aside and said, "You're such a good wife for always showing up even when he can't." And I smiled and said something like, "He really wishes he could be here." And the whole time he was at home doing absolutely nothing. And somehow I was being complimented for it. That sat with me for a while. The last event I covered for was his nephew's first birthday. His older brother's kid. I drove 40 minutes alone, held the baby, ate grocery store cake, made small talk for 2 hours. When his mom found me, I said he had a work thing that came up last minute. She said, "On a Saturday?" And I said, "I know, I'm so sorry, he's devastated to miss it." She tilted her head a little but let it go. I drove home and he was right where I'd left him. He asked how it was. I said fine. He nodded and went back to his screen. I don't know exactly what shifted that night. I sat in the driveway for a few minutes before going inside and something in me was just done. Not angry exactly. More like tired in a way that goes all the way down. The next event was his cousin's graduation dinner at his aunt's house. About 6 weeks later. I got dressed, I went, he didn't come. When his mom found me and asked, I said I'm not actually sure. He said he'd try to make it. She waited a beat. He said he'd try? I shrugged and said, "That's what he told me." Then I went to get a drink. She texted him that night. I saw his phone light up from across the room. He looked at it, set it face down, and didn't say anything. His dad's birthday was in August. Big dinner at the house, all 4 kids and their spouses, the grandkids running around. He didn't come. I sat down next to his mom and she looked at the empty chair next to me, then back at me. I said, "He knows where it is." She laughed a little like she wasn't sure if I was joking. I picked up my fork. That was the night his sister pulled me into the kitchen. She said, "Is everything okay with you two?" I said, "Why do you ask?" She said he'd been absent a lot lately. I said, "Yeah." She waited for me to add something and I didn't. His mom called me 2 weeks later. She said she'd been trying to reach him and he wasn't picking up and she just wanted to know he was all right. I told her he was fine as far as I knew. She was quiet for a moment and then she said, "Sweetheart, I need you to tell me what's going on." Not like an accusation. Like someone who already knows something is wrong and is finally letting herself ask out loud. I said, "Honestly, Linda, I think that's a conversation for you and him." She said, "I've been trying to have it. He won't talk to me." I said, "I know." She started crying a little. Not dramatic, just that sound people make when they've been holding something too long. She said she didn't understand why he was pulling away from everyone. I told her I didn't either, which was the most honest thing I'd said to her in 3 years. She called him that night. I don't know what was said. He came home later than usual and didn't look at me. The next morning he asked what I'd told his mother. I said, "Nothing." He said, "She's really upset." I said, "She asked where you were and I told her to ask you." He stood there for a long moment and then went upstairs. He hasn't spoken to his mother in 2 weeks.